Well, hello and welcome to our 1282nd episode, 222. And if you know, you know. If you don't know, then, you guess you don't know.
Yeah,
But 1280,
I'm gonna
1282nd,
I'm gonna ask you
1282nd.
offline about the 1282nd. But yeah,
It's,
222 episodes. That's pretty exciting. Welcome back to Drink the Movies.
yeah.
Yeah, and today for our 222nd go around with this thing, we're going to be talking about a movie that just came out, but it's a retake. I would say it's a reimagination, but I feel like it's pretty much the same as the 2010 version. But we're talking today about the live action version of How to Train Your Dragon. We just saw it last night, and Michaela spent countless hours tossing and turning in bed, thinking of her 1282nd line, I think.
Yeah, maybe. But what I'm really excited about is this drink. We have a drink we're going to talk about, and I'm actually super excited for a number of reasons to talk about it. In 2010, this film kind of started a whole, I don't know, world. It was a book.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it was a book, and I didn't realize that it was a book. But it was a book that turned into a movie that turned into like a quadrilogy of movies. And then they were like, Disney Pixar was like, we need to make more money. Let's make a live action. But I have to say, for whatever reason, I was much more excited about this live action film than so many of the others that were made, and I don't know
Hmm.
why. I don't because I feel like the formula is the same. They're going to take very similar looking characters. They're going to add a bunch of CGI, just like they've done with so many of the other live action remakes. And it's going to be almost shot for shot, very similar, if not the exact same kind of storyline. And that's what we got here. But I was very excited about it. I don't know if it was the marketing. I don't know if it was because it was a film that I wasn't super familiar with. I'm not sure. And you had never seen the original animated versions.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've never seen the animated versions, but definitely saw the live action remake just last night, so it's pretty fresh in our memories. And I'm excited to talk about that, talk about this remake, talk about never having seen it, and definitely talk about the cocktail because it is a good one. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. We'll grab a bottle of mead, right? Because we're going to Viking Land. What's it called? Like Belk, Belk Island, Borg Island.
Belk.
Belk Island. That's where we're headed. Apparently, they have a lot of pests there we're gonna have to deal with, and a bottle of mead is going to help us with that. So let's go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be right back to you. Mix up this week's drink. Welcome to our 1282nd cocktail.
God, I love it so much. 1282nd cocktail. Woo! In all seriousness though, Brian, do you remember all 222 cocktails that we have done? Because I do not. I do not. Um, I remember a few of them.
I feel like I might remember them better than you because I
True
upload them
story.
all to the website, so I might have
Yes.
a little bit of a memory with them. But at the moment, no, because I'm drinking today's cocktail right now. So that's
Right
probably why
now.
this is going a little unhinged so far. But strap in, people. We're going.
It's my 1282nd. It's my 1282nd shot at trying to derail this whole thing. Um, this cocktail is really fun though. I wanted to use mead. I wanted to have something that was mead-y because mead, if you
Mhm.
don't know, listeners, is a wine made from honey. Generally, it's got
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
other. You can infuse it with a bunch of other stuff, just like vodka or gin or anything like that. But it's made from honey, so it's generally going to be more sweet. It's generally going to have this kind of fermented taste that like a red or a white wine is going to not have as much of. It's not bubbly, it's not effervescent, so it's nothing like champagne or sparkling wine of any kind. Perhaps they make sparkling mead. I've never had any, but I really wanted to do something that was like that because that is what I think of when I think of like Viking cocktail, like a Viking. And I didn't have a horn. I was trying to like find a
Mm.
horn cup because apparently that's how they drank things back then. They didn't
Oh yeah.
use cups or steins. They had like a horn that was around their neck that they would also blow into. I don't really know how it works because the hole at the bottom would prevent you from drinking. I don't know. But
Sounds like
anyway,
a trip
this
to the Renaissance Fest is in your future to get one of those.
yes, yes. Now this particular cocktail comes from the Old Southern Hunter at meadist.com. Now I will say this, it is sporting a very specific mead. It is sporting the Orchid Cellar Hunter mead. It is a capsicumel, which means it is a pepper mead, which probably
Hmm.
means that it's
Yep.
real spicy. Unfortunately, we looked high and low, and I tried to order some Orchard Cellar mead, and I was not able to in time for this podcast. So, if you are like me and you're late to the game or just can't find that, you can use another capsicum ale mead. I'm hoping that I'm saying it right. It's a pepper mead if you can find it. They're pretty hard to find, turns out. I scored the Carolinas and could not find one, but I think that that's going to add another layer to this cocktail. So if you can find it, great. I would use it. If not, you could do something that is also peppery, like a cinnamon. The one that we have it was called Viking Blood, and I couldn't resist. I had to buy that and use it.
Also wanted to give a shout out to friend of the pod, Lauren, who not only came to the movie with us last night, but also brought me a bottle of Viking Blood mead, without which I would not be enjoying today's cocktail right now. So thank you, Lauren. Appreciate it. I'd never had it before, but that one is infused with some hops in there, so it has a nice kind of like a citrusy kind of thing, like on the back end of it. It's really nice
Hmm.
and it pairs up really well with the rye whiskey here. Speaking of rye whiskey, that's what we're going to need to make this cocktail. So it comes together really simple. According to the instructions there on meatus.com, you get a glass, you put an ice cube in it, and then you fill that glass with 1.5 ounces of rye whiskey. You can use whatever rye whiskey you have. I used Sazerac in mine. 1.5 ounces of your mead, 2 dashes of orange bitters, and then you're going to take roughly like a half bar spoon's worth of honey and just put that in there and stir, and then you can sip and enjoy. I do have one sort of complaint about that. The problem with building it in this way is that your honey doesn't really dissolve. It just kind of freezes because there's an ice cube in there with it. So it might dissolve a little bit better if you used a honey syrup, but maybe not having it all dissolved is part of the charm of this to give it a
Mm.
little bit more of an old-timey feel. So that's okay. So I still have my spoon in here with mine as I'm drinking it, and I keep kind of giving it a little bit of a stir as I go. But this is delicious.
Yeah.
As not a huge fan of like hot and spicy drinks, and I could see that also being good here, but I don't think I would want to drink very much or very many of those. But with the Viking blood mead, I could drink these all the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I could go conquer lands and then come back and have some mead.
There you go. I was actually really excited about the honey piece of this because we have covered a couple of whiskey honey um, or bourbon honey cocktails in the 222 episodes that we have shared with the world. And those I have found to be a profile, a flavor pairing that I really, really enjoy. So I was very excited about this. I did not know how I would feel about adding mead to it. It's a little boozy. It's not too boozy. I would say, with it, in all ways, drink responsibly. But this was like a one for one for both of them.
Hmm.
And so it's a pretty big glass, I feel like. This the honey, the ice melt certainly helps. I used a Old Forester rye whiskey with mine that I had, and I have to say, like, I really enjoyed the honey kind of globs. It kind of reminded me of if you have a caramel macchiato, like an iced caramel macchiato in from
Yep.
Starbucks, right? Like it's not supposed to be a blob, it's supposed to be melted in there, but every now and then you don't get it that way. And the honey kind of added, I don't know, just generally a surprise. The problem that I would say is that it coated coated your tongue, and so you couldn't really get the spikiness of the whiskey. And maybe that was by design because it can be, it's very whiskey forward. If you don't like whiskey, you're not going to enjoy this drink. Um, but I will say it's sweet enough where with the ice melt, it blends really beautifully towards the end. You're on the back end of your drink, and so maybe you'll love it
Hmm.
even more. But I loved this. I thought this was really lovely. It's a very easy cocktail to make. The only thing that we had to source out of our own cabinets was some mead. Um,
Hmm. Yep.
and it's pretty easy to find mead. It's just trying to find that pepper mead. I think what they were trying to go for here was much more of like a spicy sweet
Sure.
conglomeration.
Hmm.
And we weren't, I didn't get the spiciness of it, but if you wanted to do something else and you couldn't find a spicy mead, you could always use like a cinnamon bourbon instead of the rye whiskey. You could do a cinnamon whiskey. Um, And that would probably give you a very close comparison. But I think, I don't know, I really liked this without like the hoppiness for with the dragon's blood, I thought was really inspired. I really liked
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, I might try remaking this. I have some firewater bitters in there to give it a little bit of a spicy kick. That might get me in the ballpark. And certainly, whatever rye you use is going to impart different levels of spiciness, kind of depending on the rye bill and how those come together too. But yeah, this is really good, and the mead does a beautiful job. It is kind of this mouth coating sort of thing if you have any experience in just drinking meads. And your mileage may vary there, because there's a whole gamut of different flavors and different alcohol contents you can play with in your meads. So go check some of those out. Mix up an Old Southern Hunter because it is delicious. And then strap in. We have a part of a dragon's tail to make. We have like a saddle to put onto our dragon. And then we'll be on our way with this week's film, How to Train Your Dragon.
Wow, you've lost everything. Your father, your tribe, your best friend. What are you gonna do about it?
Probably something stupid.
Well, you've already done that.
And something crazy. What's up to us?
Us?
Stick with me.
Spoiler warning for the live action version of How to Train Your Dragon. If you've not seen this one, but you saw the other one, they're basically the same. Either way, we're going to talk about all the things. So go make yourself a Southern Hunter. Drink it because it's real delicious. And then you should go see How to Train Your Dragon because it's in theaters right now as of this recording. And then you could come back and we can chat about all things Hiccup and the island of Berk and Toothless and all the adventure right here, right now.
Right here, right now. Yeah, this was just released about a week ago as of recording here in 2025, and it is a live action remake of the 2010 animated film, which was an adaptation of the 2003 novels by Cressida Cowell. Back to direct this film is Dean DeBlois, who was the animation director for that first film back in 2010, and our live action star Hiccup is played by Mason Thames. Nico Parker is in to play the most popular girl at Dragon School, Astrid. Nick Frost is the man with many hands, Gobber, and Gerard Butler plays Stoik the Vast, the Viking leader slash Hiccup's dad. Gerard Butler also voiced the same character in the film, and I guess Gerard Butler looks Viking enough that he could come back and reprise his role here. And he does a pretty good job for sure. Speaking of the 2010 animated film, I never saw it. Maybe I should have because it was nominated for 2 Academy Awards. It was nominated for Best Animated Feature and Best Original Score for John Powell, who is back again to do the music in this version of the film. So, Michaela, I never saw the animated film or like the 19 animated films and TV shows and things that followed it. It set up quite the world here, this How to Train Your Dragon world. But what about you? Did you see the animated tale back in the day or more recently?
So I was pre-kid in 2010, but I had lots of friends who had kids. So I do remember seeing it um, kind of peripherally. I didn't go to a theater and see it. I definitely saw it because it was nominated for an Oscar. So I do remember having to see it in like someone's house. It was probably, but I don't remember any of the others, which I don't know if that means that I just didn't see them or that I thought it was the same thing, because I think all the characters kind of come back and back and back. I definitely remember the first one. One of the things that I really loved was the I don't know, kind of the idea of Toothless being this kind of black dragon that like was the scariest of all that ended up having the no teeth. And they
Mhm.
show that really well in the first one. And I remember that scene where he kind of names him, Hiccup kind of names him Toothless. And so that, for whatever reason, has had a lasting impression on me. But like this, from a stylistic perspective, the original animated version was very kind of reminds me of when Pixar did Brave. Kind of just the animation is just very like it's very the texture of the world in which they created was really really special. And I do remember
Mhm.
that being something that impressed me when you look at animated films. Um,
Yeah, I mean that makes sense because this was DreamWorks Animation, and DreamWorks obviously is the studio here that is putting this on as well. And obviously the dragon bit of this is animated, but at that point DreamWorks had been making films for a long time. I think their first film was Ants, I think, but most people really look at like 2001 when Shrek came out and won the
Hmm.
first Academy Award for animated feature film. That was the first year
Hmm.
that that award came into. So DreamWorks won the very first one there was Shrek, and then kind of went through the Shrek series. They had like the Shark Tale series, Madagascar, stuff like that. So by the time that How to Train Your Dragon comes out in 2010, they'd been making animated films for about 12 years, so they weren't like spring chickens by any
Or,
means.
yep.
So I think you could arguably say that by the time How to Train Your Dragon comes along, 12 years in, they were really kind of hitting their stride with the storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a good story. There's not a lot of f films out there that I would, especially animated films, that I would consider like father-son films. This is kind of one of them, which was great. My kid and his dad were able to enjoy this on Father's Day proper. Um, but
No
there's a
moms
lot.
on Burke Island. On,
No
on
moms
a side
on
note.
Burke Island. Yeah, yeah. There were not very many women in the village, and I don't quite understand why. This village, we got to talk about some of these shots though, because I don't know
Hmm.
how they did it other than CGI'd a bunch of it. It would make me sad to know that this was entirely CGI, but I feel like the island and the set design that they recreated uh, was pretty impressive. With the cliffs and the island itself, and then the design of the village. And I love how they're like, it's a village that is older than time, but every building is brand new. And it kind of sticks with you for a minute until you realize that all the buildings are brand new because they've all been burned down in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
And where did they get the wood? Where did they get the stone? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Suspend some disbelief there, but
They're Vikings. You can come to your own conclusions how they got all of that stuff. But yeah, the town here looks great. Again, I've never seen the film, so I don't know like how like this town looks versus that. So I'm not even going to speak to the animated film here because we're talking about the live action one. So I think that it looks great. So I guess they filmed a lot of it on location, like in Northern Ireland, which makes sense. It's very rocky and craggy and islandy and stuff like that. But I have to say, like you, I don't know how much of it was the CGI green screen stuff, how much of it was practical. But my big takeaway from the film, just kind of overall, last night as we were watching it, I was like, this looks great. These these settings look great. These houses look great. The set design looks great. And again, I don't know if that set design was coming from actual physical sets, if these were kind of animated CGI sets. But I thought that it looked really good, and it definitely gave you a sense of place. I thought within the film, which I thought
yeah,
was really good.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's get into it. So, it's the village of Berk. I thought it was Belk because of the accent, but apparently it's Berk. Um, it's the we meet Hiccup. What a name! It's like Maverick. It's like I don't know. Hiccup is the 15-year-old son of the village chieftain, right? Um, he is. I don't know. I do love the beginning of this where they basically tell him well, there's a big attack on their village because of all the sheep that they have, that they're trying to hold safe in like this big barn, and all of these dragons are coming and taking the sheep away. And you don't really know why. You think that they're just going to go eat them all, but they're taking all the sheep away. And everybody tells Hiccup, "Don't get involved. Stay inside. Just stay out of like go away." Like he's some bad omen. I'd
Mhm.
love to see like the backstory of how why he is considered just this complete bum that can't do anything right. Like I don't know. He's one of the only ones with all his arms and legs and fingers and toes. So I think that they should exploit that a little bit. I don't
That is
know.
a benefit from hiding every time the dragons come into town for sure. But yeah, I love you have this opening set piece, right? And you have Hiccup there who's kind of like doing like a narration, and then it goes directly into like his dialogue of the film, and it's gorgeous. He's running around the town. You have these dragons coming in, stealing sheep, burning down buildings, attacking the villagers, all that stuff. And Hiccup Hiccup just wants to go out and fight, right? Like he's a Viking. That's what you're meant to do. You're meant to go out and fight these dragons and pillage and conquer and all of those things that Vikings are wont to do. And that's exactly what he wants to do. But, everyone keeps saying, stay inside, go help out the blacksmith. That's what you're good at, right? You're not good at fighting these dragons. You're going to get people in trouble. And you see that a couple of times as he tries to go out and be of aid and ends up, causing more trouble than what he's worth. But what he can do, it seems like Hiccup is a bit of a thinker, right? We'll see that later on. There as he's designing, spoiler, a bit of a tale for Toothless the dragon. But we see kind of this contraption that he's made to shoot these. I don't know what they're called, some sort of
Bolas.
bolas out into the sky, right? This thing which misfires, causes a bunch of trouble, but he does take it out and he shoots it at this shadowy figure. It's this kind of dragon that no one ever seems to know anything about. You just know that it's dangerous, and when one shows up, you're going to have a bad time. But he ends up firing it into the sky. Yeah, this first set piece was great. It was fun. It was action packed. I thought that it looked great. It kind of looked like a stunt spectacular show. It reminded me a lot of like the Indiana Jones stunt spectacular show, if you've ever taken that in down
Yeah.
at Hollywood Studios down at Disney. But yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it was really good. I love kind of the lore part of this film too, and it's been a minute, so again, I'm not really going to be able to compare to the original, but I did love where all of these books and all of these records of the type of dragon there is, all of them are like super dangerous, kill on sight, super dangerous, kill on sight. This one, it's got fire for skin, and all of this, but no one knows anything about this Night Fury. They call it
Mm-hmm.
so it's got to be the worst. It's got to be the worst dragon we've ever seen. And I wonder if that is kind of part of the lesson here, right? Is that because we don't know about it, we're automatically going to think that it is the
You're afraid
absolute
of it, yeah. It's
worst
the other, sure, yeah.
dragon, right?
Hmm.
But then when Hiccup goes and finds he wants to go get his bolus back, and he goes and finds the dragon. The dragon has actually been captured, like he did it with his launcher,
Hmm.
right? And the poor dragon, he looks super pathetic and sad. He's like his breathing is labored, but he's all black. He's got these amazing green eyes, just like in all of the set design pieces that we've seen from the first film. This dragon looks pretty great, and I really loved the meeting between the two of them because
Hmm.
you forget what you're watching. And I think that maybe this is why I was so excited about this film is I couldn't tell if this was an animated film or not. Which is
Hmm.
which is hard to say, right? Because in most films that have a huge CGI component, you can still kind of tell. It looks great. They have these really quick action shots so that your mind is kind of tricked into believing what you're seeing. I thought that this was spectacularly done. The blending of the human piece, the live action piece, and the animated piece. I couldn't tell the difference, and that's saying a lot here for me.
They did a very excellent job with that. Because another film that we have out right now that Dean DeBloy also directed is the live action remake of Lilo and Stitch, and in that film, Lilo looks more cartoonish. In that, but this did a really, really excellent job of kind of towing that line where Toothless didn't look like a cartoon, but it also didn't look hyper realistic. So it kind of just like fit into this world that was being created. And I thought that that was excellent because I think, if you leave it too cartoony, that's not always that great. Right, because then it's a very clear, differentiation between your live actors and this cartoon thing. But if you make it hyper realistic, then it loses part of what made it endearing and what made Toothless cute and adorable and us to want to rally behind
Mhm.
Toothless here in the story. So I thought that it did an excellent job of kind of bridging that gap.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I love that we see more of this dynamic between Toothless and Hiccup. So Hiccup lets Toothless go. He should kill him. He's got this cute little baby dagger that he's supposed to like stab the the dragon with, and he can't do it. But also Toothless can ends up pinning him down, pinning Hiccup down, and Toothless also makes the decision to not kill him. And so there's kind of this weird truce between the two of them.
Hmm.
Um, and uh, I really like I really like how we see a lot of that grow over time, right? Where Toothless and Hiccup become more than just kind of these uh I don't know, a captive versus a captor because Toothless can't fly anymore. He has damaged his tail, I think. I think it was always that way because he tries to leave like this cavern that he has found himself in and he can't quite get
Hmm.
out. And so Hiccup feels bad. Hiccup like brings him food so he doesn't starve to death. But in that relationship, like they become more friends and more equals rather than kind of captor versus captive.
Yes, I do like that as well. And talked about, kind of towing the line there between the hyper realistic and the animated. It
Hmm.
also kind of toes this line there in that sense because it does evolve beyond, a captor and a captive, right? As like
Hmm.
Hiccup is more or less like a zookeeper, right? Like bringing the food and making sure that he's okay while he's like trapped inside of this kind of like cavern gully kind of thing that he's stuck in because he can't fly his way out of there. But it never really evolved. At least in this film, maybe it does into the future. It probably does, but it was never like they were like rolling around on like a grassy meadow as like best friends. Like they weren't like best pals. They were kind of like I think they kind of looked at each other as kind of like these equal outsiders and wanted to protect one another more so than they were like besties in a way
Mm.
if you understand what I mean
Yeah.
there in saying that. So I thought that was really good and a really kind of a great part of the story, which I liked a lot actually. And I thought that was really good. And I also thought it was good that Hiccup is this very smart kid, right? Is being this outsider kind of a character, and he notices things that all the other Viking kids his age or the elder Vikings and things don't necessarily. So on one hand, he's taking care of Toothless and making sure that he's fed and all that stuff, and trying to help him with his ability to fly and things like that, and kind of literally training this dragon. On the flip side of that, you have the dragon trials, I guess, that the kids are going through, and he's using the knowledge he's gaining from Toothless here to help him through those trials. Much to the chagrin to the other kids.
Yeah.
Let's talk about those other kids
Oh
here a
my
bit,
gosh.
Michaela.
They're amazing. So we you have Astrid, right? Astrid is I don't know if this is true to history or not, but like she's a total like baddie, right? She's
Hmm.
amazing. All the guys seem to kind of have a little crush on her because she's just fierce. She's really strong. She knows how to take down a dragon. She's fearless.
We have fish legs. I love fish legs, Julian Dennison, because fish legs is like, oh, that dragon is like a D20 on the fire scale. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I Julian Dennison, by the way, was also in I believe he was in the Christmas Chronicles 2, and that's the first time I ever saw him. Apparently he's in
Mm,
Deadpool 2 as well, but I've skipped that. But
great.
he's really I love him so much. He is an up and coming actor. I really like him. Somebody that I hadn't seen, Gabrielle Howells as Snout Lout. Okay, I loved that character so much in this version.
Hmm.
I really, really loved his like snark. He was like super narcissistic. The poor kid just wants love from his dad, just like Hiccup, but it's just much more performative.
Hmm.
They're actually quite similar in that, which I thought was interesting. I don't know if that if that's also like in the books or not, but I really love that piece, and I hope that if they do more, we're going to explore that kind of duality there. But then, oh my God, Rough Nut and Tough Nut. Okay, they're twins, but they don't
Twins.
look anything alike other than they both are like blonde and burly and look like they haven't bathed. They're great.
Yeah, Bronwyn James and Harry Trevaldwin playing the twins there. But the Dragon Trials, takes up a kind of a big bulk of this film, right? On one hand, you have the How to Train Your Dragon bit with Hiccup and Toothless, but then you also have these Dragon Trials where these kids are literally learning how to dispatch of dragons, right? So they can carry on with their Viking ways and protect the Viking lands and stuff like that. So that's really fun. We're learning about kind of these different kinds of dragons. We're seeing different kind of things inside of like this dragon arena that they're doing, and they're all being graded kind of on this thing, right? It's like the Triwizard tournament of dragons here, for sure. But yeah, Hiccup is using all this knowledge that he gets, right? He finds out that Toothless doesn't like eels, so he like pulls an eel like out of his like jacket or whatever to get one of
Mm.
the dragons there. He knows that like these like dandelion tufts kind of make the dragons fall asleep, so he uses that. He learns that like Hiccup, if he gets like scratched in this one place, like he'll kind of just like a dog, right? He'll like start kicking his leg and then lay down and take a nap. So he starts to use all of these little things that he's learning from Hiccup. Or Hiccup's using all these things that he learned from Toothless inside of the arena, and quickly, catapults all of the other kids to becoming kind of this grand champion of dragon slaying, I guess. Much
Right.
to the chagrin of the other kids, but mostly to Astrid, who has a real problem with this. Your dad is the leader of the tribe. Of course, you're going to be the best. You're going to get all the advantages, says Astrid.
Well, yeah, especially since everybody was like, look, Hiccup, just stay out of the way for the first like
Hiccup, you're
20 minutes of this
terrible.
movie, right? And now it's like, oh man, Hiccup's the he's the whiz kid all of a sudden. Yeah.
My favorite is his dad, Stoic, there when they're going into like the last dragon trial, and he's like addressing all of the Vikings there, and he's like, "Who would have thought my kid was so terrible yesterday, and now he's great."
Right. And yeah. I mean, he didn't even want that's the funny part to me is he didn't even want his son to be involved in this class. He was like it's time like when they both consider they both go to each other and after seeing Toothless Hiccup and not being able to kill him, Hiccup is like I shouldn't kill dragons. Like I can't do it. I'm not brave enough. And his dad is like, "You're going into the army, son." Like you're doing it. One thing that I thought was neat was when Astrid follows to Hiccup to figure out where Hiccup is going because Hiccup's like I'm gonna flee. I gotta figure out a way to get Toothless out of here. I have to kill a dragon. That's like his last like final like exam is to kill a
Yeah.
dragon in front of everybody. How do they do this? Well, how do they decide they're going to keep a dragon versus kill it and or keep it for the school? I don't know, but uh
Mm-hmm.
he tries to escape and that's when Astrid follows him and then sees the dragon and she's kind of now in on the secret. She also decides that Toothless is not harmless but she's going to help Hiccup kind of protect this secret. And I really like that. I think this Astrid is, I don't know, she's a bit, I don't know her. I like to watch her paradigm shift, right? Because it really is a testament since she's such a great, like young dragon hunter, right? And to turn
Hmm.
around and she goes from wanting to inform the villagers and saying, "Oh, we got to tell them, we got to tell them." Um, Hiccup is like, "No, we really can't. If we tell them, they'll kill him." And she's also ends up being part of like this bigger idea around why the dragons are acting the way that they're acting.
Hmm.
Um, and I really loved her kind of change and shift. I don't know this actress very well, um, Nico Parker, but I was really impressed by that because it does take her a minute, and I think that that's fair. It wasn't like this, like oh, it's totally fine, like we'll just protect this thing that I've been brought up for 15 years to hate, right? Like it took her a minute, and I liked that.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I thought that she did a really good job, especially, they have their whole new world moment there on the dragon as they go up into
Yeah.
space and see the things and she comes to kind of understand where Hiccup was coming from that, but she's torn, right? She's mentioned earlier, kind of in the story that she has her eyes set. She even says to Hiccup, she's like, "I was walking by your house and I can't wait to live there," because she wants to be leader of this Viking realm there of Berk. So she's highly ambitious, but then she kind of comes to appreciate Hiccup's mind and all of this and like his ideals and how maybe that killing the dragons isn't the solution, right? This seems like an ongoing war, and eventually it's going to fall down to the kids, right? They're going to have to fight their parents' war, and maybe there's a different way future. And I think Astrid kind of sees that. But initially, yeah, she is definitely torn, right? Because she's like, "Hey, we just found out where like this whole like dragon's lair is. There's like a dragon like queen bee sort of a thing, and we should come get it." And Hiccup's like, "No, we have to like slow your horses there. We have to think about this and figure out how we can do it without everyone just going to kill all of the dragons." But unfortunately, that hand gets tipped a little bit because when Hiccup is in the arena the next day for his, I guess, dragon slaying victory lap or whatever he does as the new dragon hunter Viking of them all, when Toothless catches wind that Hiccup is in danger, Toothless is going to fly in to save the day. But they don't see it like that, right? They just see it as this other aggressor of the dragons. They're coming and they're going to capture him, and that's going to be sad. It's sad.
Eh,
I don't like it.
I don't like that part. And also, of course, the dad Stoics is like, I don't know, I would disowns Hiccup. He's like, I can't believe you. I didn't love that. I mean, obviously, that you're not supposed to. Um, but they are going to use Toothless now that they've captured him to guide them all to the nest, despite Hiccup's warnings. And this is a piece that I thought probably could have been a little bit more spelled out for like a younger audience. I don't know, where it's really just impressing upon them that hey, the dragons are doing they're doing horrible things, but they're doing horrible things because there's a bigger dragon that will eat them if they don't. And they're just kind of paying homage. And I love this layer because this is something that a bunch of really amazing books that we were taught to read like in high school and in college, that like the behavior of one group of people or one group is really predicated upon behavior of another group and its impression upon them. So while
Mhm.
you're looking at like warring nations and things, it's like, well, why are they behaving the way that they are? And it's probably because over time they thought that this was the way that they were going to survive. And it turns out dragons are no different than humans in this way. They were like, hey, your island, you keep rebuilding it, so we keep pillaging it, and setting it on fire and taking all the stuff. Don't hate us, like we're just trying to survive here. And I
Mhm.
really wish, I don't know, I love that piece of it. I wish it had hit home just a little bit more, just because I think that that's a theme that is we see a lot as kids get older. But maybe that was by design
Mhm.
because,
Yeah. I mean, I think it's I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
simplified enough here because right, this is coming
Yeah,
off of a children's book and children's animated film and then
yeah.
into this. And I think it has to be simple enough, that, even the youngest of kids could understand. But as adults and you're watching this, you can certainly, kind of read in between the lines and see, that there's this other like figurehead dragon, so to speak, that's really pulling the strings. And I mean, you even see that when they go to like Dragon Island or whatever it's called, there, Hiccup and Astrid when they're with Toothless, and they go and you see like all the other dragons are like very fearful of this thing, and they're just being sent
Hmm.
out to bring back resources to this kind of mecha dragon, as it were. And that's exactly where they're going, right? You mentioned they capture Toothless, they shackle him to this boat and they set sail, which is very, very sad. But they go and they kind of suss out this big dragon, right? It kind of looks like an iguana with wings. It's like Godzilla size. It's kind of
Yeah, the
epic
Red Death.
and amazing. It's pretty awesome. But of course, this dragon, looks at these, I don't know. 2000 Vikings or whatever, and just immediately just lights them up. If you've watched Game of Thrones with those dragons or House of the Dragon, you know exactly how this is going to go down. And it's not going down great, but what it is going down is Toothless and that boat because the boat sinks. It's the saddest thing of all time. Hiccup tries to go and save it, but of course Hiccup, doesn't have the upper body strength to get this dragon out of his shackles. But you know who does? Gerard Butler.
That's right. That's right. I do like this change. I don't know. I really liked these last scenes, and I think they were probably pretty similar to the ones in the 2010 version. I don't really remember, but man, this scene where they're flying through the air and they're setting the wing membranes on fire and the insides are and it's starting to crash and explode, and then you've got Toothless and Hiccup up in the air. They're finally together again. But then he's falling. And you've got that dark, like their dark outline with the montage behind it of like complete utter destruction and like fire and smoke. Really beautiful. beautiful imagery, really sad.
Mhm.
Um, but because you think Hiccup is definitely going to die in this, right? You think Toothless might not be able to and this part of the scene, right? You're like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
But turns out Hiccup survives just fine. He loses his left foot, but now he completely matches Toothless, who kind of lost the left half of his tail. So they can both like be inventors and wear, contraptions together that help each other continue on, which I kind of love that.
Mhm.
Um, I
Yeah, I
kind of
love
love
that.
that.
I also love the aspect here too, is you get the other all the other kids, right? With Astrid on board with this plan, right? The other kids,
Mm,
Snotlout and Fish Legs and Rough and Tough Nut are gonna, kind of fall in line with those plans, and you see them, kind of taking over their own dragon there that had been, captured by the clan and coming, and that's really who ends up, saving the day, right? Saving the whole clan of Vikings. There are these kids that were able to, set aside the fact that they're supposed to be, killing these dragons and decide to work together for the greater good. And that's pretty great there. The final battle scene I think is epic and really cool looking. Like I said, I love the like design of the
mm.
the mecha dragon there in the stance, and I thought that was really cool. And then yeah, all is well that ends well. It kind of goes back out to this kind of voiceover sort of thing that Hiccup is doing, and he's kind of mimicking the dialogue from the first section of that. But now we see the inclusion of the dragons who are hoping to like rebuild the town, and you think there's going to be some prosperity for both groups going forward. I wanted to talk a bit about Gobber, played by Nick Frost there. Nick Frost is excellent. I thought that he
He
was a
is.
really good character in this film as well. They do a really neat thing when they introduce him. They call him like the Viking with many hands or the man with many hands, but they don't really show you that when they say it. So I'm like, wait, what? But then they show it later, and he's got like all these interchangeable hands, which is pretty cool. I thought that was kind of a neat like like
Hmm.
unveil for that. So I was like, oh, that's pretty fun. He's the I guess the blacksmith, and then he is the one that's also teaching the kids. But I thought that Nick Frost here did a really good job. I don't know who did the voice in the animated one here. That's not really that important. But I thought Nick Frost did a really good job, kind of in this role of being like shepherd to these kids, and teaching us about how these dragons work and operate within the world. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, no, he's one of my favorite characters in this whole story because he also goes through this kind of metamorphosis because he was chosen to work with the kids, but I don't think that was his original job because he was the blacksmith. So I don't know if it's because everybody else has died or been, wounded beyond being able to do that. Which is funny because he's missing like an arm, he's missing a leg, he's got this really cute little peg leg going on. But I love the prostheses that he does create because you see
Hmm.
that might have been where Hiccup kind of was inspired to do some of the invention work that he was doing was
Hmm.
through Gobber, um, which I thought was really neat. It all kind of it all comes together. It's like the fabric of this story that I really enjoy. And Nick Frost, his timing, his comedic timing is just amazing. Um,
Hmm.
I saw him, and but he looks very like the makeup job. They did a very good job because I mean, halfway through the film, I'm like, is that Nick Frost? I don't know if that's Nick Frost, but it is. It was very, very well done. I liked just that dynamic between him, Gobber's character, and Hiccup's character kind of changes over time, and with all the other kids, because at first he feels like this is a job that he doesn't want to do, but at the end, um, when they are kind of all in this prosperity and all's well that ends well, now the dragons are kind of living in harmony with the villagers, and so now he's more of like this, I don't know, grandfather of all of the kids. More of a like a fun uncle somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, and he was a great ally of Hiccup, kind of throughout the story, right? And kind of being this
Yeah.
intermediary character between, Stoic and his son Hiccup there. So I thought that was really good. We have a lot of films to come out still this year, Marvel stuff, Superman, this Jurassic Park thing that's coming out. So there's going to be a lot of competition. I thought that the sound design for this was incredible. We were watching this in IMAX last night, and they had like all, I don't know, 8 channels or whatever they have there in the IMAX theater, like just going nuts. Like there was so much like layering of sounds. I thought that was incredible. The one thing actually, which is kind of strange because the score, John Powell, who did the score for the first one, nominated for the Academy Award, I didn't love. I mean, there were parts of it that were incredible, but there were other parts where I was like, I'm not jiving
Hmm.
with the songs here at all,
Hmm.
which I thought was weird, and I don't know like how one to one those are to the original animated thing. If if it would even be eligible to again, if it's a lot of the same stuff, if it's too much overlap, I don't know how the Academy does with that stuff, but I don't know, like the score was probably my least favorite part of the film, and I like this quite a bit. So
Yeah. I was actually I was with all of these live action ones, I feel like the score almost gets the short end of the stick anyway, because we're expecting to, as an audience that has seen it before, s- j- well, we don't know, I guess, but I was surprised that there would be a lot of new things coming out from the score, or in this case, this isn't a musical, but like in any of the live action films that had a strong musical component to it, like Lion King or Aladdin or any of those, it's very difficult, I think, to do well there. Anyway, I thought it was fine, but I agree with you. I don't think it didn't set my soul on fire. There were some aspects of this that I really did, like some of the sweeping shots that looked like they were live, like from Ireland, like the craggy cliffs and stuff, and
mhm.
and
Yep.
showing the overlay of Toothless and Hiccup flying through the air. That was amazing. And I think you're right. The sound editing and the choices that they had, sound editing is so important in an animated film.
Mhm.
And I feel like this was no different. They probably gave it the white glove treatment here too, because this again, there were moments you couldn't really tell what we were watching. It felt real, but it also looked kind of not. So
Yeah.
I agree with you there. It'll be interesting to see how this shakes out with some of the other animated films that have come out this year, uh, as far as like what, from a comparison of what the Academy, or what kind of, I don't know, from any of the other award, I don't know, from a critical acclaim, like where this is going to sit on that scale. Um,
Mhm.
it's made money. It's making a boatload of money, so that's great. I feel really good about that for them, because um,
Yeah. Yeah, it had a really good opening weekend, very strong, very strong. And before the film started, of course, they have the advertisement for Universal Studios' new Epic Universe, which has a How to Train Your Dragon Land, which is a large reason why this exists, I think, probably.
mm,
But I thought that it was really good. I thought it was interesting. Dean DeBloy came back to direct it, who directed, the animated version of this, and apparently he was very adamant that he would have, kind of some level of creative control over how the story was going to go. And I guess that some of this is like quite literally shot for shot. Again, I've never seen the animated one, so I can't speak to that necessarily. But there was something about this, and we've been seeing the trailers for it for a while. And ever since the very first one, I was like uh, greatly interested in
hmm
seeing this. I never saw the animated one. I don't care about that. I care more about this world now, but I'm not going to go watch the animated How to Train Your Dragon 2. I can wait because they're doing a live version of that, apparently supposed to come out in 2027, but I don't know, there was something about this being redone in live action that I was really interested in. And maybe that's like because, Lion King, like I'd seen the animated ones, so maybe I wasn't that familiar with that, but I certainly can't be alone in that sentiment. And I think that that's partly why these exist. And
mm.
you can look at like the box office dollars that these things are making. Lilo and Stitch is almost up to like $1 billion now. So, the live action remakes on one hand are derided, and people are like, "Why does this exist? It's ruining my childhood," whatever that means. But on the other hand, people seem to really enjoy going to see these. So,
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I think this is definitely worth people's time if you've not seen the first one, even if you have seen the first one, or the animated version. Um, I really liked the fact, Brian, just as an aside, that I had and you had not, so we could get kind of that piece to it. We didn't plan it, obviously, but but I kind of like that, being able to see it with fresh eyes. to see if it's enjoyable. And I'm glad to see that it was. So yeah, worth your time. It's interesting. I have to say, just as an aside, this Universal DreamWorks Pictures ride world that they're going to create for How to Train Your Dragon. I have
Mm.
a feeling it's going to be very, very similar to Avatar's Way of Water ride that's in Disney. And if
Could
it
be. It could
is,
be.
I'm
Yeah.
so excited because
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
ride is epic. And
That,
so,
that
could you
ride is epic.
imagine
Yeah.
we get
And
to ride our own dragon? That would be
and
so cool.
and the new Universal Park is called Epic Adventures, so that makes sense. That makes sense. But yeah, even like the where it's doing like the first person perspective of them flying around the island and stuff like that. I mean, it looked a lot like kind of that Avatar ride was. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, that was pretty cool. It looked really good. I thought the story is great and kind of a timeless kind of a story. Like it's not like going crazy deep on anything, but I think that it, kind of it's this perfect kind of marriage of something that's made for kids that adults can get, a lot out of, which is, kind of how modern, quote unquote cartoon or animated film storytelling works, right? Pixar and DreamWorks, those kind of things. So I thought that it was really good. I was really glad to have seen it. So probably watch it again when it hits streaming potentially, and go check it out. If you can see it in IMAX, it looked great. So go do that and listen to the sounds and just have Hiccup and Toothless's adventure just wash over you. It'll be a good time. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for our 222nd episode here about How to Train Your Dragon. So let us know down in the comments or on our social medias. It's at Drink the Movies on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky, and Facebook.com/Drink the Movies. If you made up an old Southern Hunter, or if you went to see How to Train Your Dragon, if it's better, worse, and different to the animated films, maybe you're a book lover. Maybe the animated film shouldn't even exist. Maybe you should only read the book. I don't know. Let us know all of that stuff. You can do that on our social medias there. And if you want to find out more about our cocktail or the cocktails that we've done 221 times before this right now, you can find all that stuff on our website, which is www.drinkthemovies.com. Go there. There's links to the merchandise shop. There's links to Drink the Video Games. There's links to the Patreon, which is an amazing time. We have hangouts coming up this week. We've got bonus episodes, cocktail chats, all sorts of stuff. It's patreon.com/drink the movies. You're going to want to go there, and we appreciate our patrons so much. Michaela, we have a busy week. We're back to the movies next week, and the week after that, and the week after that, and the week after that, because movie studios are unrelenting this summer. I guess they got
That's right.
all their eggs back in the basket for the summer, so hopefully it goes well. So, where can people follow along with us and make sure that they're subscribed to the podcast, all that stuff, so they can go from How to Train Your Dragon to How to Survive Outbreaks for 28 years?
That's right. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods. I think we're on iHeartRadio, anywhere where Spotify podcasts are supported and distributed. Whatever you're listening to us on right now, there is a subscribe button. If you haven't pressed it, please press it. We would love to become part of your daily life. We do 2 drops a week. We do our lobby bar, which is really fun, talking about the box office and all the stuff happening, and then our deep dives like the one you were listening to right now. We also have Drink the Video Games, which is super cool. It is a deep dive into all things video games. There's a cocktail as well, so of course, go check those out. Season 3 coming out
Soon, yeah.
soon.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. About a week and a half, yeah.
If you're liking what you're hearing, you have suggestions, leave us a comment. Leave us 5-star reviews, share us on all the social medias. We love this job. It's the best thing that we could be doing, talking about all the things and cocktails, whether it's movies, music, video games, all of that stuff. And we can't do that without y'all. So thanks so much for your listenership.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's going to wrap it up here for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time on
Drink
Drink
the
the
Movies.
Movies. 12:82nd. Oh, it's like a 11:01st. It's a Lord of the Rings thing out there, people.
Yeah, they're going to know. I feel it in my heart. Some of them are going to know. At least one person is going to get it.
Thanks for the breast hat, Dad.